AI is reshaping how students think, learn, and prepare for their careers. Dan Yu is the founder of College Node, and he recently sat down with me to explain how they are embracing this powerful tool. I met Dan at our studios here in Washington, D.C. So for kids today, as I said, I think they're quick to adapt and embrace new technology. What do they want from a digital learning environment as opposed to what the universities are offering?
So the kids really want jobs. The kids want to be able to graduate and be employed. And the ability to use AI tools is a great asset in terms of employment, right? Believe it or not, employers do not care about your citation. They care about how fast you can get a job done, how fast you can write that memo accurately.
Dan Yu is founder and CEO of College Node, a company that consults and advises corporations and higher ed institutions on how to survive in the age of artificial intelligence. So you've worked at the intersection of education and technology for quite a while. How would you describe the landscape here in the United States in terms of adoption and China?
Well, I think in education, the biggest disrupting force right now is artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is going to change how we teach kids. Artificial intelligence is going to change how education, higher education, all the way down to elementary education. And here in the United States, I feel like there's a lot of resistance to this force of destruction, as you can say, in the education industry. A lot of the institutions basically operate as if artificial intelligence will just go away in a few years. And I talked to a lot of institutions, and I feel like this is almost a prevailing view, that this is just a fad. We're going to go back to the old way of doing things. And obviously, that's not true, right? If you look at China right now, it's demanded by the Ministry of Education that everybody study AI all the way to elementary school. The students are required to learn about artificial intelligence. And I feel like that's the right attitude when something new, especially a disruptive technology such as AI that comes out. You need to embrace it, right? You cannot run away from it because the pace of innovation, the pace of change will only accelerate. So we either adapt or we're going to be obsolete. And I think that's the unfortunate fact right now in the United States education industry, especially in higher ed, which is this will go away. This is not happening. And we need to change.
It's so interesting because you talk about resistance and disruption, and I see this, the scenario. There's the teacher who's stayed, who's been there for a million years. You've got the students who are coming in who've seen disruption their entire life. I mean, technology changing, they adapt readily, whereas the professor may not. Is that what's at work here?
Absolutely, right? You see a lot of the students using ChatGPT right away when it becomes available. And it's the professor that fights them tooth and nail, says you may not use ChatGPT or it will be considered cheating. And that is the opposite approach of what you're supposed to do, right? These young people need to learn to master AI, not having their professor penalizing them for it. So, I mean, I went to college. I have a degree in Shakespearean literature. So I spent 4 years undergrad, 3 years in law school to become a really good writer. But right now, I don't write my own stuff. I write a skeleton and I let ChatGPT write it, and then I basically just touch up on it. It's much faster. Now, I went to school for 7 years for this, and it's becoming obsolete, the ability to write really well. A lot of things that we're teaching in college right now are becoming obsolete, and we need to adapt and catch up with the changing world instead of sticking to the old ways of doing things.
Colleges and universities in the U.S. experienced a 15% decline in enrollment between 2010 and 2021, making these institutions more aware of the need for student retention and satisfaction. What would you say to those professors that really are concerned about this? Because, they've got students who are basically just, it's the machine that's doing the work for them.
Okay, well, the right approach is to teach the student how to use it well, right? The right approach is to teach the student after ChatGPT come out with the content, you need to fix it up to make sure it's accurate, to make sure it's reflect what you want to do, rather than fighting it. Again, a lot of the professor, when a technology come out that threaten their jobs, it is very natural to actually point to something to say, hey, look, this thing is BS. It's not good. I mean, obviously, when ChatGPT 3 first came out, it has a lot of flaws. It's only been 2 years, and the amount of progress has been made is just astonishing. And these professors want to have their job for the next 20 years? These institutions want to have their job for the next 150 years? No, right? Like, you need to provide value to the student. The students are the customers, and we need to give the customer what they want. Primarily, the customer today want is a job, right? They spend an exorbitant amount of money going to these higher education institutions. You need to be able to justify that the money they spent will be, returned in multiple fold. And right now, I'm afraid that a lot of higher education institutions cannot justify that. And the default position is to go back and demonize the new innovation. And I think this is very unproductive and even harmful to a lot of the students that are attending these institutions.
You talk about how you engage with universities and this resistance. Is that one of the things that they talk about? I mean, what are you hearing on their end? I know you hear, look, we've been here forever, we're going to be here forever, which is kind of like just putting blinders on. But what are some of the concerns that they raise with you?
Right now, I hear a lot of fear. So about 80% of the people basically just stick their head in the sand and say it's going to go away. About the 20%, usually these are the university provost and president who actually gets it. They don't know how to deal with it, because if artificial intelligence play out the way it is, do we still need universities, right? University traditionally has been a place in which people go to obtain knowledge. But right now, you can gain infinite knowledge at the tip of your finger. And sometimes it's even more accurate than what your university professor can provide. So does the university still need to exist? Now, the answer is obviously yes, because university provide much more than just a place to gain knowledge. If you actually look at some of the wealthiest Americans in the world, almost all of them, but a large chunk of them found their spouse in the universities, right? Mark Zuckerberg married his college sweetheart, right? Like Elon Musk's first wife, he met in universities. University provide a place where people come to socialize, to marry, to mentor. So it provides a lot more value than just simply a place to gain knowledge.
Tech giants such as Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI have been pushing AI heavily into education in hopes of building brand loyalty among future professionals. Is it similar, though, to the good old days where, calculators first came out and the teachers didn't want the calculators in the classroom, but eventually everybody's using calculators and they kind of gave in? Is this something where you're going to see over time there's going to be a relaxation, you think, in terms of how these professors approach this?
So, a lot of times when new technology come out, you see this play over and over again. And I assure you that AI will be integrated into education one way or the other. The difference is that the pace of innovation is accelerating so fast, and artificial intelligence is such a disruptive technology that if you don't adapt to artificial intelligence, the whole institution will collapse, right? If you cannot justify to the student the value proposition that you offer them, why would they spend $60,000 a year attending these schools when they get a negative return on investment or even a harmful return on investment, right? If you prohibit students from using or learning artificial intelligence, this is harmful to them in the long run.
You're talking to people in higher education quite a bit. What are some of the things that you're hearing from them? And is it just constantly pushing against a wall, or are you starting to see some universities where they get it?
I feel like it's a constant push against the wall. I mean, there are people who are understanding of what this technology will unleash, but higher education institutions by default is very, very slow, right? One of the things I constantly hear is that our school has been around for 150 years, will be around for 150 more. And this kind of mentality is preventing a lot of the innovation. But again, innovation will now be pushed into higher ed industry, whether they like it or not, because if they do not adapt, what you're going to see is a dwindling in the amount of students that are attending these institutions. And we're already seeing that, right? Like in 2024, one liberal arts college closed every other week. And that's because these liberal arts colleges, many of them have survived for over 100 years, can no longer justify their value proposition to their customers. They have trouble attracting enough students to pay their exorbitant tuition, because if you look at the jobs numbers, their students do not make any more money compared to the students that attend state schools. So why would you waste all this money to attend? And you're going to see this question being asked more and more against an increasing amount of institutions.
China has recently implemented AI into primary and secondary education as part of a national push to integrate the technology across all levels of learning. Now you look at the United States and China, you see one that's embracing AI at early age all the way up through higher education. You see another one that's resisting. It's kind of the new space race. I mean, what's the outcome if one's decided we're not going to try this and the other's like fully embracing it?
Well, I won't say one decide not to try this. The United States understands the power of artificial intelligence as well, and is embracing it. And it's just that we're not producing enough scientists and engineers. So historically, our secret sauce is that we go around the world and we buy the best talent and the best mind. And one of the major conduit is through the H-1B visa, is through higher education institutions in which we attract talents. They come here to study for PhD and they stay afterwards. So, but in terms of our indigenous innovation, our indigenous K-12 education, I feel like is really lagging behind right now. And I think it's a national security issue. But I don't think it's being properly addressed right now. And you're going to see this playing out in the next decade in terms of GDP growth, in terms of national security, and in terms of everything, really. China will take the lead in terms of artificial intelligence. We're talking about markets all around the world that's in play, right? We're talking about smart cars. We're talking about bipedal robots. We're talking about AI assistants. And instead of buying, robots from American companies, it will be the Chinese company, the Indian companies that will be filling this gap. And that will translate into job loss. That will translate into higher national debt. That will translate into everything. So we absolutely need to address this. We need to have a better mentality in our education field to embrace but not shun this new technology.
We'll be watching it just as you will be. Thank you so much for your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.